Hi, I'm your Gemini friend. This video is going to be about North Node in Pisces or the 12th house. And when you're looking at it sign versus house, think of the sign that it's in as like the character that it's playing, the role that it's playing, the personality that you're wanting to work to with the North Node. The house is going to be the area of life where this is relevant for you, where it will be taking place. And I do have a video in the description that goes a little more into the North and South Node and the balance situation that comes with this. But to put it briefly, the North Node is the energy that you want to work towards really embodying within this lifetime, because your South Node, which with this placement it's going to be South Node in Virgo or South Node in the 6th house, that is the energy that you've come into life fully comprehending. You have mastery in this area, and you're actually so strong in that Virgo 6th house energy that you need to balance it by going full on into the Pisces 12th house, Neptune nebulous energy that I'll be discussing in this video. And remember, your natal chart is very specific and particular to you. So some people have energies that are more geared towards their North Node already. Some people have energies that are very much representative of that South Node energy. Everyone is working from a different place, totally different combination of all the energies within your chart. So take yourself into consideration here. But this one in particular is a really lovely placement to have. So before I get into that, I just want to let you know that I do offer personal readings if you want any sort of insight on your chart or synastry readings. But let's get into this. So if you take nothing away from this video but one thing, please let it be that this placement, North Node in Pisces, North Node in the 12th house, is a sign to relax. That's what it is, relax. The more that you just allow and let things flow and connect to the guidance within you, allowing higher powers, allowing whatever it is that you believe in the very most, that's what's true to you, and that is essentially your source of power in this lifetime. You can pretty much just let go, and the more you let go, the more things will work themselves out. So what this placement comes with is Virgo energy on the South Node. Looking at Virgo energy, it's highly detail oriented, it's perfectionistic. Basically what Virgo energy wants to do is that it wants to improve things. So it's always looking for things to improve. The 6th house is associated with our day-to-day, more mundane tasks, the things that have to get done. Think of Virgo energy as being very service-oriented, very much wanting to contribute to the things around it and be of service. That is the main thing with Virgo, is being of service. And what that can do is make you feel like you always have to be doing more. But the affirmation most closely associated with Virgo energy is, I am enough. Because I'm not sure if any sign needs that reminder more, because Virgo works so hard. It's such a hardworking sign. It's trying so hard. But you might find that the more you try to control a situation, the more very clear steps that you lay out, the more things are just going to become disrupted. This is always a sign that you don't need to be planning. You don't need to figure it out. What you need is a goal. You need somewhere to work towards. But the blessing of this placement is that the more you just allow things to work for you with the intention of working towards that goal, but it's almost like the less effort you're putting into it, the more you will get out of it. Because that's what lesson you're meant to learn in this life, is to stop trying so hard to prove whatever it is. It can be proving your worth. It can be proving that you are strong enough, diligent enough, smart enough, worthy of attention, worthy of being taken care of. But the thing is, you are already all of these things, and you don't have to prove them. You don't have to be perfect. That's the biggest downfall of this placement, is feeling like you have to be perfect, like you have to live up to some expectations that nobody but yourself has put on you. That might not be true. People in your life outside of you could have definitely projected their expectations on you, but you have no obligation to meet them. I am telling you that if you have this placement, you have actually come into life with such a hardworking attitude, such diligence, and such an incredible ability to improve things that it's actually working against you. That's why your soul wanted this goal of learning to relax and let go. You're allowed to make mistakes. Make mistakes all you want. Embrace mistakes. The more that you can feel like you are still entirely worthy after you've made every mistake, that's why your plans might fall through. That's why things don't go as planned. Because you're meant to embrace the chaos that is living here on this planet. So what this can come with is past lives of essentially being in a place where you kind of had to be perfect. This can be surgeons. This can be like monks, nuns, people who are looked upon very highly, who have to do their job in a very particular way or need to follow a very rigid rule set. So you're very used to following structure and needing that structure to essentially keep you in your role, to be a doctor or a nurse, any sort of healthcare provider, healer, which is very much associated with this energy. You likely had to keep a very sterile environment. I mean, you have to. In order to be in an operating room, things have to be sterile. So Virgo can be very associated with obsessive cleanliness and really just obsession in general. Since Virgo is about structure and it's about detail, it really zooms in on anything. Like with this placement, don't ever find a flaw and then put all your focus into it. That's like the worst thing that you can do for yourself. You're putting all of your energy, all of your attention on something that you don't like. That it's pointless. It serves only to upset you, and you might feel like what you're doing is critiquing so that you can improve whatever it is about you that you think is not perfect. And this can also extend to outside of you. When it comes to critique and looking for imperfections, there is no sign or energy better at that than Virgo. So there is a need to make sure and just pay attention to the way that you are perceiving your environment and the people around you, because since the sixth house is also associated with like the workplace and day-to-day work, service, things that we do to feel like we're a part of society and doing something productive, and basic general productivity, this placement can actually be sort of an issue in the workplace. You might find that other people do things less perfectly than you do, that their methods are not as effective as yours. And like that can be very true. But the lesson here is to learn to embrace other people's ways of doing things. Just let them be. Let them make mistakes. Let them do things in the less than optimal way. Allow it. The more that you can just allow, just release these mental hangups that come with this energy, the better off you will be. Virgo is anxious energy. There is so much going on mentally. This is mercurial, related to thoughts and nerves and organization. So that feeling that you need to keep things in order, it can just be ever present. But that's why this Pisces energy balances that out so well. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So Pisces in the 12th house are an embodiment of this, the very concept of Neptune. So what I've been thinking about with Neptune lately is that the way that I'm really seeing it, and let me know within your chart if you have any thoughts on this, but Neptune is a healer. It's a protector. It is associated with illusions and being delusional and not seeing things clearly, misunderstandings, pretty much anything that mixes things up, puts a haze over it, makes it murky. That is Neptune. But like, why? Why would this deeply spiritual, highly empathic, compassionate planet be murky like this? One way that I'm seeing it is like the 12th house being kind of like what I say, it's like a closet where we put things that we don't want to deal with, or things that we're going to push off until later, or just suppressed traumas, experiences, things that we don't want to face. So where Neptune falls in your chart, it could likely be related to where you needed protection as a child. This is just a theory and kind of an overarching thing, but I'm really seeing Neptune as a protector that hides things from us when they wouldn't be helpful for us in that moment, when we're not ready to face it. So these self-deceptions can actually be helpful in that they might keep us safe or under the impression that everything is okay, when otherwise we might not feel that way. And we always want to uncover the truth eventually, and things will be uncovered in the right timing for you. But seeing Neptune as this protector that hides things that we're not ready for yet, I just think that's an interesting concept. But how it relates to this placement is that sometimes the path is completely unclear because you're meant to give up on trying to control it, trying to make it go your way, and rely on higher powers. Rely on your guides, rely on your intuition, rely on your higher self, rely on your ancestors, rely on your angels, rely on whatever concept really makes sense to you. Spirituality is so incredibly important in this lifetime for you. But the thing with spirituality is that it is actually so much more open and like up for your own personal interpretation than Virgo would ever allow it to be. Virgo wants to have the rules so that it can do it right. Pisces finds the rules inside because we all have a connection to higher knowing. Whether you want to outsource it or consider it to be your higher self, it doesn't matter. It's whatever works for you. But there is a really strong importance to give all of your worries up to whatever it is that you're giving them up to. For example, you can take any little thing that's bothering you, like any problem in your life. And the best thing to do with this placement is to recognize, okay, this has been going through my head. It's driving me crazy. It's making me feel sick. I don't want to have to deal with it. Surrender it to the universe. Just give it up. Make a ritual out of it. Make it into something significant, I mean. Like, maybe have some sort of gestures that you praying hands, like, whatever works that goes along with this, the Virgo energy that wants there to be structure and that kind of wants there to be rules, you can play with this and make your own sorts of rituals, or you can consider them to be prayers. It really is whatever works for you. This understanding that everybody does things totally differently because everyone is completely different. We are all very unique pieces of the same one. We are all existing as who we are for a purpose. You and exactly how you are within this lifetime, flaws and all, you're perfect. You're perfect this way. And this is all that Neptune, this placement, wants you to know, that all of the things that you need to fix, all of the things that you feel like you need to work towards, and all the steps to get there, just allow help. Allow divine help. Virgo wants to do it completely on its own. It recognizes the heaviness of responsibility, but it also recognizes that it's completely capable. But this lifetime is kind of set up to make you feel not incapable, but that your efforts aren't necessary. It's not that they're not appreciated, but the way that you're going about this with such strong Virgo energy on your South Node is that you're overcompensating, you're overdoing. You don't need to do that much. Like, as much as you've done in your life, it's probably more than the average person does in their entire life. So whenever you're feeling pressure, that's a sign to look inside. You have the answers inside of you. You are always able to connect to that. But it is a matter of attuning yourself to be able to actually receive this guidance. So if meditation was important for every other node placement that I have talked about thus far, and it is. Meditation is important for everybody, but for you, it is number one importance. You really can't get around this. It's something that you need. But meditation, there are so many ways to do it. All you have to do is find your way. Consider initially that the most important thing is to be in solitude, to be in your own energy, away from outside influences, away from anything that's going to distract you. You need to be in solitude. It's important to take this time as often as you can. Every day, making it a habit is the healthiest thing that you can do for yourself. Even if it is initially just sitting alone and observing your thoughts, it's honestly more productive for you with this placement to sit with absolutely nothing, staring at a wall, than it is to try to work through your problems. Because with this energy, you're going to keep adding more and more to it, more that you need to do. It's like when you have a problem, it's not just the problem. It becomes so many more problems because you're using your intelligence against yourself to figure out like every single possibility. Like, okay, if this doesn't work and this goes wrong, then I'll have to do this. And you're just going off on, like, it's not helpful with this energy at all. The more that you can do to recognize that your thoughts are not you, your thoughts are in your mind, but they're not even necessarily your thoughts, because North Node in Pisces, it's such an incredibly psychic energy to have. You are surrounded by guidance, by protection, by opportunities. But the more you tune it, or the more you zoom in on those details and focus on everything that you can possibly do to improve the situation, everything that you can do, you're not able to get that guidance. You are not meant to be doing in this lifetime, you're meant to be being. Just being is enough. I know it's unlikely for you to even believe me, but I promise with all my heart, just being is enough. It's enough. So when you're meditating, solitude is the most important thing. Because of this highly empathic psychic energy that you have, most likely, your thoughts are likely not your own. Your thoughts are projections of other people. Your thoughts are like telepathically picking up other people's thoughts and feelings that it could be anything. They are not necessarily yours, and your thoughts are never you, because your thoughts are something that you can control to some degree. And the more discipline that you get within your own thoughts, the more you are able to control them. And the more you're able to recognize that they don't control you. You control your thoughts. They do not control you. But it's not necessarily easy to get to that point, I know. Believe me, I know. But the point of meditation is to form that connection, to form the connection to the guidance within you, to the guidance around you, to the power that comes from this connection. Because you will never be able to see the full picture. There are things going on around you in higher dimensions, in just so many different things that we're never going to be able to see. But you can attune yourself to the higher dimensional beings, to higher dimensional experiences by focusing on that connection. If nothing else, taking some time to yourself and closing your eyes, being in a relaxed position, inhale light, positivity, whatever feels good for you, and exhale negativity, darkness. That's just a really simple inhale, exhale, just focus on that. And the more you are able to detach from your thoughts, recognize that the anxiety is almost always coming from like a sense of feeling out of control, like you need to control things and you need to understand things on a deeper level and you need to be prepared. The more you connect to the guidance within, the more secure you feel, the more protected you feel, and the more you understand that you're really never alone. Your path is a beautiful one of simply existing as somebody who can represent that Pisces idea of compassion, empathy, and that lack of judgment that makes everybody feel welcomed. Whenever you're going into that problem-solving energy, that's really a sign to release the problem, focus on your intuition, focus on how you feel about it. Decisions that are made with your heart over your head are always the right decision. And the thing is, even if you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up about making that mistake, because if you were acting from your heart and it didn't turn out immediately, things are happening behind the scenes. Things are always working out in your favor. I cannot emphasize that enough. Things are working out in your favor so long as you believe it. That's the biggest thing here. Virgo has so much mental energy, and thoughts become things. Where we put our attention, that's what we're going to see more of. There's literally never any constructive reason to worry. It's mental chatter, it's unhelpful, and it stresses you out. But I know it's not so simple as to just stop doing that. Like, I'm a Gemini, I'm Mercury in Gemini in the 3rd house. I get the thoughts. I get the way that Mercury can make them just never seem to stop. That's why detaching from your thoughts, meditating on the fact that you are a soul, you are consciousness in a vessel on a planet, and you're gonna be okay. Whenever you feel like you're not okay, you're gonna be okay. Security is inside you. And the thing with this sort of thing is that faith is actually like the power source. The more you believe, the more true it is. Because faith in things being much more than they are just on this earthly realm, the faith makes it so. It is always so, but it makes it so in your reality. Because perception, when you think that something is best for you, it is guaranteed, especially with humble Virgo energy, that you're not asking for enough. You're not giving yourself enough credit. You are likely expecting the bare minimum for your efforts. And this is thinking in such a 3D earthly way, because what you're considering to be valuable, what you are putting out as work, your service, it's just really likely that you are devaluing it. It's hard to see your own worth with this placement. You might think that the only time that you're earning money is when you're actively working at a job, like within a corporation with a boss. Having that mindset where that's the only way that you can make money essentially limits you to that. But when you allow higher powers to take the wheel, these forces are able to recognize the good that you do. They're able to recognize the value and worth of your everyday actions, your good intentions, and your pure heart. And they know what you deserve. They know that you deserve, oh man, I'm really feeling this, okay? They know that you deserve so much more than you think. And a part of you deep down inside knows that too. That's the part that you want to connect with. And another thing with this is that right and wrong, okay? You have your perception of what is right and wrong. I obviously don't want to get into any like big universal right and wrongs, but just in life, when it comes to more petty judgments or really just any way of being, right and wrong is a judgment. And you really want to avoid judgments at all costs. Because ultimately, when you are judging other people, situations, whatever, as good or bad, right and wrong, you're the one enforcing that. You're the one believing that. It's all you. And the way it comes back to you is through judgment. If you give judgment, you receive judgment. If you're expecting judgment, just energetically, like, we can put off that sort of thing. You know, when someone is insecure about something, it attracts more attention to it. Basically, if you stop making these judgments and seeing these things as problems, with this placement, the problems tend to just go away. It's like the difference between holding on to something really tight or allowing it to freely be as it is. I'm sure you can think of your own like examples of that sort of illustration, but it always turns out that the tighter you hold on, the more that thing wants to get away. It creates resistance. But if you let it be free, then it's much more likely to choose to come your way. This is vague, but haven't you noticed that, like, as soon as you just stop caring about something, like, oh, I can't take it anymore, I give it up, everything just kind of fixes itself? Do that as often as you can. And it's really important to give grace to other people when they're finding themselves, learning things, when they're developing their own style that yeah, like I said, you might recognize that it's not the best way to be, but giving them grace is the best thing to do. And at the same time, give yourself grace in that situation, even for making the judgment. Give grace to everybody and everything, because then that is what you will receive back. And this can sometimes be because we can be frustrated at people for any given reason, but oftentimes I find, at least personally, it boils down to they feel free enough to do that. They can be imperfect. They're allowing themselves to exist despite being flawed. That's something you want to give yourself. Just think about situations like that and see if you can ever arrive at that point, that you're just frustrated that they feel like they are allowed to exist and have value without being perfect, when you on the inside don't extend that to yourself. Because it's you. It's you that's not letting yourself have that freedom. Every judgment that you're making on everything and every person, it all comes back to self-judgment. So that's why we don't want to do it. But always recognize, it's really good to recognize when something sets you off, when you're just like, I just can't stand that. Explore it, but explore it from a more intuitive way. Maybe meditate on the concept and see what comes up. Maybe memories, maybe something completely unrelated that you can analyze, but you do have the power to work through these things in a much more spiritual way than the analytical brain wants to. And of course, this axis of Pisces and Virgo is very linked to self-sacrifice on both sides, because it's service. It's service in the higher and the earthly realms, spiritual service and earthly service, but this need to always help, this very genuine desire to be helpful and to be there for people and to improve their lives. This can cause us to get into relationships, romantic or otherwise, with people who are users and people who are going to take your kindness for granted. But this only happens if you take your own kindness and your own service for granted, if you aren't seeing the value in it. Because if you recognized just how powerful your ability to give and show love to people is, if you saw just how much those little things that you do mean to the people that you do them for, if you stepped back and saw yourself in a more objective way from outside your body, if you just look at yourself as somebody who is doing their best, you know that. Somebody who has pure intentions, you know that too. Even at your worst, your intentions are to improve things and to help people. There's nothing wrong with that. Look at yourself from a different perspective, a perspective that's not coming from your own busy mind. Look at yourself the way that the divine sees you, and recognize that every little bit of service and love that you give to people, it's so much more valuable than you might even let yourself realize. Because I'm trying so hard not to get emotional, but this is what we're here for. We're here to love and embrace our differences and to make other people feel loved. Obviously, we have so many experiences, so many different goals that each individual soul has, and we forget these things, and life is messy. And Virgo doesn't like messy, but Pisces understands that the messiness is what makes us who we are. All of us. There is no standard. You are the standard for you. There's nothing to fix. Just need to be. Get in a place where you know what you're working towards. If you're working towards spreading greater compassion or something more specific, let that be your goal, and do it as compassionately and with as little judgment as possible. Because just existing as yourself with this wonderful goal that you have, even if it's something more personal, something more artistic, this would be highly associated with art, music especially, and can indicate huge talents for that. For creating things that other people, that touches them deeply, that they're able to see that there's just a lot more substance and depth to it than like the typical song or whatever. And just be an example of somebody being themselves, because that's the best thing that we can do for anybody, is to free them by compassionately allowing them to be themselves, wholly, all of their flaws and everything. You do that, and you do that by embodying your own essence and by accepting your flaws and by allowing things to be the way that they are without feeling like you need to fix them. Because you'll also find that the more peace and internal strength and order that you feel on the inside, your life will match that eventually. It will come to mirror your inner peace. If your life is chaotic right now, check how your mental space is going. Check your nervous system. If there's chaos inside, there's likely chaos outside, because the world is our reflection of our belief system, which is why it's really important to always believe that things are working out for your best, because truly, as long as you believe that they are, and even if you're not, they are. This placement, more than any other, you are allowed to just relax and to just be yourself and to just exist as an example of the embodiment of love, the embodiment of compassion, understanding. Don't worry about who you need to be. Just be who you are, and you will be the right thing always, in every situation, for everyone. And back to relationships, overgiving in relationships and not recognizing the worth of the little things that you do can obviously lead to the other person just taking it for granted and seeing it as like something that just becomes a daily occurrence for them. They don't recognize that it comes purely from your heart to make them happy. So the more that you sacrifice, the worse things are going to get. This not wanting to make mistakes can even lead you to staying in a situation or a relationship longer than you should, because you feel like you can fix it, or you don't want to admit that this was never a good thing in the first place, or that it became something bad. This is another area to give yourself grace in, and trust your gut. Trust how you feel. If you're feeling bad in a situation, with this placement, you've likely already worked on it far beyond what it deserved. And I mean, you might even go back like over the situation and pull up all of the mistakes that you've made and use those to justify, well, I'm not any good either, so no. Don't stay in bad situations for you. Don't stay with anybody who makes you feel like you're being taken for granted, like you're not loved for who you are. Anyone that makes you feel less than you know that you truly are inside. Just don't give those situations your time, your energy, because your energy is precious. Your love and your ability to just change the atmosphere of places is incredible. It's valuable. And when it comes to work, your path is likely something that is more significant than just a mundane job. But this doesn't mean that you can't have a more typical job and just having your existence there. Even if you are working a totally traditional, normal job, your presence there is likely like the biggest reason. You are a source of light, but being around people too often is it takes a toll on this placement. If you are working in a group setting, it's best to try to isolate when you can. Maybe even just like find your own corner or something. I'm not telling you to go sit in the corner, but it's just important to make sure that you're not picking up too much energy from other people, because this does indicate that you work better alone. Because you're really highly perceptive. You are likely picking up on so many things from other people and within the atmosphere. So it can be distracting and anxiety inducing. This sort of placement is typically better off doing something that is more, something that creates a sense of peace. You don't want your work to be stressful, because this is a highly sensitive placement. But the thing is that if you are open to changing your situation, if you are in a stressful place, all you have to do is figure out what it is that you want. It doesn't even have to be specific. Just recognize, okay, this job is stressful. What I really want, ask yourself what you really want and allow it. And then you can announce it to whatever powers you're most comfortable with and go with the flow of it. Your most genuine desires and what you enjoy most are what you're meant to be doing. But the way that you're getting there, it could take all sorts of steps in different ways. But the thing is that you aren't ever going to be able to figure it out on your own. You need that higher connection for essentially the map there. Because if you try to figure out like a step-by-step process, it's going to be disrupted in a way that forces you to give up that control. So you can absolutely live your dreams, so long as you know that you deserve to. One way that you can help with like choosing your direction is to think, what would I most regret not doing? The answer to that question is most likely at least related to what you are meant to be doing. I just want to say, this world, we are all born into this world, and up until very recently with shifting energies, things have been so traditional for such a long time. We're born and we see that life apparently has to go this one particular way, where you have a job that you hate, you work really hard for much less than you deserve, and then you retire. That's not what life is about. It's very easy to get caught up in that. But you came here for a much deeper experience, and I'm not at all shaming the idea of a traditional job. It's some people's paths, and there's absolutely a spiritual way to do those things. We do need light in these dark places, but just think about it. Are we really here for that? Is that the best it gets for most people? It's not enough. It's not enough. You are enough. The more that you can simplify your life, the better. Truly, just like have that be your mantra. How can I simplify this? And usually the best way to simplify it is to give the problem up to a higher power and trust that it will be fixed. One last thing with this though, it's interesting. We can get very attached to our problems and our issues. Personal example, I've always slept very poorly, and I began to associate myself with the very concept of sleeping poorly, to the point where I just identified with it. I didn't realize how much better it would be to give that problem up and trust that I can actually sleep better. And ever since I did that, my sleeping improved in a way that I could not even imagine. That tendency to identify with a problem that we've had for all of our life or for a very long time. It's like the sunken cost fallacy, where you're seeing all of the wasted time that has gone into having this problem, that it's almost like it's not worth fixing it, because what have I been suffering for? But it's a hard mentality to break, but very much related to this placement. And the very last thing that I want to say is, when it comes to giving up control, recognize in nature the cycles and the patterns and the way that things are actually always in order. The seasons, everything happens in perfect order. It is always happening without any of us having to do anything. Even if we were all gone, the world would take care of itself. We're not necessarily needed to fix every little thing, and you don't have anything to fix. You don't have to improve anything to be worthy of the absolute best. Your dreams, the most perfect lifestyle that you could possibly imagine, you're worthy of it right now. So relax into that understanding. Really let it sink in and connect with it as often as you can, because this is a deeply powerful, very spiritual placement, and we need your help on this planet. So the more that you're in your own energy, resonating at your own natural frequency, the higher your vibration, the more you're able to connect with higher powers, with higher dimensions, and have these experiences that are beyond the norm. You're meant for those experiences. And all it takes is releasing the guilt and shame that comes with feeling that you're not enough. The 12th house is that subconscious void that we all have. We all have this connection to the void within us, but everyone's 12th house, I believe, is connected. When you go in there, you're able to access past life knowledge, collective knowledge. You're able to connect with other people. That's our true nature. These bodies and these lives are wonderful. They're wonderful experiences, but they're not who we really are. And I know you know that. Somewhere deep inside, it's a truth that we all know. So that, this has been North Node in Pisces, or the 12th house, and this is the last one in my North Node series. So if you're here and watching, please let me know any other series that you want me to do, or any just individual videos. I have a long list of videos that I've been meaning to make, but I really like doing these series of things. I like the structure and the order of it with my Mercury. So yeah, let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions, and your experience on this placement, or what you think of the video. Whatever you want to let me know, really. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you can connect with what I'm saying, because it's coming deeply from my heart. I truly mean all of this. So thank you. I love you. Bye.